This is not a third world country or a war-torn region, yet 70% of its youth want to pack their bags and leave. For good. Welcome to Ireland. Ireland has had its share of problems, but things started to look good once it joined the EU. Investments were flowing in and the GDP was looking better. But now, the Irish are leaving like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Why is it so? What's driving this immigration trend? As always, this is Econoscope, where we bring you the raw and unfiltered reality of things. And here are the reasons why everyone wants to leave Europe's richest country. In Ireland, finding a stable home has become a real struggle. Over 11,000 people, including 1,600 families and 3,000 plus children, were in emergency accommodation at the start of this year. Shockingly, 55% of these families are single-parent households. The housing crisis hit a breaking point, with fewer than 1,100 rental properties available across the entire country of Ireland earlier in February. For young people, owning a home in places like Dublin or Cork feels like an impossible dream. And that's why a recent poll by the National Youth Council shows some serious numbers. 70% of young people are considering leaving Ireland. The problem with housing solutions? New proposals aren't winning over local communities. Now, this is a huge problem for millennials more than anyone else. With the average house price at €305,000, they're up against a 10% down payment requirement and loan-to-income limits set by the Irish Central Bank. Subsequently, the number of young homeowners aged between 25 and 34 has dropped from 60% to 27% since 2013. The problem is huge, with experts noticing a big decline in the birth rate among young people due to insecurity. Tenant evictions are skyrocketing, and renters in Ireland have little to no protection. The soaring prices are pushing many to consider the once unthinkable immigration. For those considering to skip the country, Europe is often the go-to, though countries like Australia and Canada also beckon as promising refugees for these Irish souls caught in the storm of housing uncertainty. The struggle isn't just about finding a place to call home, it's about affording the basic cost of living. Recent increases hit everyone, but not evenly. According to the CSO, all households faced an average inflation rate of 8.2% in the year to September 2022. Yet, households in the lowest 10% of income saw a 9% inflation rate, while those at the top experienced just 7.5%. Breaking it down, the differences become stark. The poorest 10% faced nearly twice the inflation rate on food and non-alcoholic beverages compared to the richest 10%. Rent inflation for the poorest was over 3 times that of the richest, and energy costs were 1.5 times higher for poorer households. For those with lower incomes, these seemingly small differences are significant. The poorest households spend almost half of their income on food and energy, compared to less than 10% for the wealthiest. The strain is real, especially when you consider that the bottom 10% has a negative savings rate of -33%, while the top 10% boasts a savings rate of approximately 70%. The cost of living crisis is further exacerbated by government decisions. Calls to protect the incomes of the poorest were met with a mere €12 per week increase in core social welfare rates in budget 2023, falling short of the proposed €20. This decision, coupled with one-off payments, highlighted the disparity and increased the rich-poor gap by €199 over the year. Even the additional one-off measures announced in February 2023 fell short. A continuous crisis of income inadequacy cannot be addressed by sporadic payments. The core rate for job seekers' benefits for a single adult is €220 per week in 2023. This amount is expected to cover everything from accommodation to health, leaving individuals with impossible trade-offs due to inadequate social welfare rates. The reality is that one-off measures don't address the ongoing challenges faced by those living on insufficient incomes. In the recent past, Ireland faced an economic collapse that reshaped the employment landscape, marking the third reason why many are choosing to leave. Nearly 15 years ago, the nation grappled with widespread unemployment, a consequence that lingered long after the banking and fiscal crisis had subsided. The impact on individuals, families, social cohesion, and the country's finances were profound. At the peak of the recession in 2012, the unemployment rate skyrocketed to 16% of the labor force. Fast forward to today, and while there's been progress, the Central Statistics Office (CSO) forecasts an annual unemployment rate of 4.5 to 5% in 2023. Although these figures represent an improvement compared to the challenges faced during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, there's still a lingering concern: the potential for an economic slowdown, coupled with the disruption stemming from the Ukraine crisis, poses upward risks to these expectations. For those contemplating their future in Ireland, the memories of the economic collapse and the enduring spectre of unemployment remain significant factors. The scars left by the recession still impact the decision-making of individuals and families, creating a backdrop for the ongoing exodus from the country. The fourth reason behind the exodus from Ireland centers around persistent poverty, a challenge that, despite progress, continues to cast a shadow on the nation. Over the past 2 decades, there have been strides in addressing poverty, driven by increases in social welfare payments, especially for the unemployed, elderly, and people with disabilities. The rate of poverty declined between 2001 and 2009, but the economic crash led to a reduction in welfare rates, causing poverty to spike. Recent years have seen a resurgence of welfare increases, resulting in a decline in poverty, which now stands at 13.1% of the population as of 2022. However, the numbers tell a stark tale. More than 671,000 people are still living in poverty in Ireland, with 188,602 being children. Among them, 143,633 older people are grappling with poverty, marking an increase of over 55,000 since 2021. What's even more striking is that 133,565 people living in poverty are employed, the working poor. For those considering a life outside Ireland, the persistent spectre of poverty is a powerful motivator. Despite improvements, the harsh reality of over 671,000 individuals, including children and the elderly, struggling in poverty remains a stark backdrop, influencing the decisions of many to seek better opportunities elsewhere. Alright, let's sum it up. Why are people leaving Ireland? Ireland is experiencing a notable wave of departures, and here are the driving factors. Firstly, there's a downright challenging housing scene, with sky-high prices and scarce rentals pushing the younger crowd to think about packing their bags. Secondly, the rising cost of living is hitting folks with lower incomes harder, making the idea of staying put a financial tightrope walk. Thirdly, the echoes of the economic downturn and lingering worries about job stability are steering many towards seeking greener pastures. Lastly, despite strides, there's still a shadow of poverty hanging over a significant chunk of the population, nudging people to consider opportunities beyond Ireland. It's a mix of housing headaches, financial strains, economic memories, and a persistent struggle against poverty that's prompting folks to look elsewhere for a shot at a better life. And that is it for today's episode. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Make sure to leave a comment of what you want us to cover next.